Hello and welcome to episode 56 of the Post-cast with Rabbi Shmuel Posner, myself, Seth Hellman. Rabbi, how are we doing today?
Baruch Hashem, fine. You know, I woke up 12 hours ago. Well, nobody knows what time it is because we're whatever, but it's 4:28 p.m.
So you slept in is what you're saying?
Huh?
You slept in is what you're saying?
No, I woke up 12 hours ago at 4 a.m. and I was sitting at the dining room table and I saw the sun rising. It was the most gorgeous thing I think I've ever seen. It was this beautiful hue of purple and red. It was like, whoa. I took a picture of it somewhere. I sent it to somebody who I thought was maybe having a struggling. He's in a foreign country, so it was daytime by him already. And he said, the sun always rises and pierces the darkness. I thought it was a good message. Like the sun rises. You know, when you feel your life is dark and you're down, the sun rises. The sun will rise and shine through the darkness. So that was a good message, I thought. So what are you going to tell us about the Vilna Gaon?
Yeah, it's actually a good segue, right? Light, darkness, right? You think of so back to Pesach, right? 2 weeks ago, you had mentioned, we were immediately post-Pesach, and you had mentioned how people were like, oh, what was the first, thing of chametz that you ate, right? And you were like, you said that you weren't really in a rush to consume chametz after Pesach, right? Like it's just not a huge priority for you. And literally like 2 days later in the daf, the rabbi gave a story about the Vilna Gaon and was like the Vilna Gaon post-Pesach would make havdalah on beer because he wanted to show that the reason why he was eating matzah and kosher for Pesach food was because it was Pesach. And then the second it wasn't Pesach anymore, he would consume chametz. And so I just thought it was really interesting that, that I heard that immediately after you had said it, and then B, the two schools of thought, right? The I'm not really in a rush to go and eat chametz, and the I am in a rush to go and eat chametz. And so I just thought it was interesting in that way.
But I don't think you like beer particularly.
I have no idea. I'm not an expert on the Vilna Gaon. That was the story that was told, and that's what I wrote down. So
that's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, it's not that. We spoke about this idea that we enter the chametz world because we have to elevate the chametz world. That's what Hashem wants from us. But like this idea of like rushing out to get the first pizza, But this whole interplay between matzah and chametz is like, and then you have three basic periods now. You have Pesach, Sfiras HaOmer, counting the Omer, count the days from the second day of Pesach till Shavuos, and then it's Shavuos. So Pesach is matzah, and then on the second day of Pesach, you bring an offering of barley. Now we also during the Omer period, which is 49 days, we learn tractate Sota, because Sota is 49 pages. So 1 page per day. And also the concept of Sota is connected to what we're going to see in a second. But interesting, in today's Parsha Emor, in Rashi talks about this also. The idea that you bring the first offering that's brought is a barley offering. Now, in the Talmud it says that barley is animal feed. And the first offering brought of wheat is brought on Shavuos. And not only that, but it's unique in that it's chametz. So it says, there's a pasuk in the Torah, do not bring leavened products on the altar. So basically all the breads that were brought in the Beis HaMikdash were not chametz. Even though they were thick, they knew how to bake them in such a way that it didn't become chametz. So the first offering of wheat on Shavuos is dafka chametz. So you have barley on Pesach, we have chametz on Shavuos from wheat. So what's the process we're talking about here? So the first day of Pesach is revelation from God. The first day of Pesach, Hashem reveals himself at midnight, God himself, and strikes down the firstborn of the Egyptians. the next day, we say, okay, what are we going to do about it? How are we going to deal with this? How are we going to integrate this into our lives? So what do we have to do? We have to bring a sacrifice of animal feed, which reminds us of the animal soul. So so that's the second day of Pesach. Then we start counting the Omer. What does counting the Omer mean? The 49 days are parallel to the 49 characteristics of a person's personality. The 7 attributes, chesed, gvura, kindness, severity, all 7 of them. Each one of them intertwines with each other, so you have 49 altogether. So that's the 49 days of counting the Omer, is a time of integrating the godliness that was revealed on Mount Sinai in Mitzrayim and having it affect us in a personal way. And then we're ready for Matan Torah, to receive the Torah. And then on Shavuos, what do? We bring a offering of chametz dafka, specifically chametz, to say that we've gone through if you did the Omer period properly, then you have refined and elevated chametz as well. There's a pasuk in Shir Hashim goes like this: Mashcheni acharecha narutza havyani melech chadar nagila mischavai. You know what that means? Mashcheni acharecha, draw me after you, pull me after you. Mashcheni, draw me. Acharecha narutz, after you we will run. Havyani melech chadar, the king brought me into his chamber and will rejoice there. So Mashcheni we're saying Hashem pulled us out of Egypt. We're revealing godliness in Egypt. Hashem took us out of Egypt. Then he says, then we have to then integrate our animal self with our godly self. Got excited when Hashem came into Mitzrayim and redeemed us. Then we have to refine our animal self, and then Acharecha Nerutza. After you, we run. So Ashcheni is singular. You pulled me, singular. Because that's when you come out of Mitzrayim, it's only talking to the godly self. Then when you do the counting of the Omer, it's Mashcheni Acharecha Naretz. We will run. We meaning the godliness on the animals. Havyani HaMelech Hadarav. Then you brought me into your chamber. That's Matan Torah. That's the giving of the Torah. So that's the connection between Pesach, counting of the Omer, and Shavuos. My point over here is that ultimately, when it comes to Shavuos, we're bringing chametz on the Mizbeach. That's the big deal. Chase. I went into the butchery today. You know the butchery?
No, I have no idea what the butchery is. I lived in New England my whole life as a Jew and don't know what the butchery is, and went to school in Boston for 4 years and don't know what the butchery is.
The butchery is the only kosher store, pretty much.
Well, it's the only kosher. Well, it's the only dedicated kosher grocery store. There is kosher meat at the Star Market on Com Ave.
I know. I didn't say the only provider of kosher food. I said the only kosher store.
We've talked before about their kosher for Pesach schnitzel. It's a thing of beauty.
Nobody remembers that.
I don't know if I don't know that we've talked about it necessarily on the Post-cast. I'd be surprised if we hadn't, but you and I have definitely had the conversation about it because it's amazing.
You were talking, I was listening.
If you haven't had the kosher for Pesach schnitzel from the butchery, you're missing out.
All right, but you can't get it till next year. Maybe the chametz will taste good too. So I went there today, and there's a guy that works there. He's a tall guy, and he says, and he lived in Worcester. I don't know if he lives still in Worcester, but he lived in Worcester. And there's a Lubavitch school there. It's been there since like 1940s. So he says to me, I got $1 from the Rebbe. I said, oh. And then he pulls out his phone and shows me the picture of him getting $1 from the Rebbe. He's wearing his yarmulke like this, a little boy wearing yarmulke like this. He said, I'm 9 years old. I didn't know there was even a picture then. And he said, my mother found this picture on the Rebbe's birthday before Pesach. He was so excited. He said, I was so excited. He said, I literally started to cry. And he remembers that he had gone twice to the Rebbe to get dollars. And one time, The Rebbe said something he couldn't hear. So he asked his friend, what did the Rebbe say? He said, the Rebbe said, bracha v'atzlacha. Then the next time I stood, he said, you can see him leaning in, wanted to hear from the Rebbe. And he said, what he remembers was the Rebbe was totally focused on him. He's totally there. But at the same time, he felt that he was much bigger than the whole world. Profound. And he said that to me. He's like, wow, that's so deep. The idea that the Rebbe is right there with you. He's talking. He's giving the dollar to this 9-year-old child. He's like 40 now. He's giving a 9-year-old child a dollar, and so he's completely focused on him. He's not distracted by anything else. But then as he's being focused on a 9-year-old child, he looks at him and says, "This is the Rebbe." He's not some man who gives dollars to little children. He's the Rebbe. He's like so much bigger. So the two of those together, I thought it was fascinating. Now we say that tzaddikim are daim lebayim. Tzaddikim are comparable to their creator, and that's what it says in Tanya. We find the greatness of Hashem. You find also his humility. That Hashem is so big and so great and so awesome, but then he takes care of the lowliest creatures in the world. That's pretty powerful. That both of those qualities, to be unlimited, beyond any description, and then at the same time be focused on specific details. I mean, I thought that was pretty cool. I love hearing Rebbe stories. The guy pulled out a phone and shows me the picture, like, oh my golly. And the thing is, then when I left the store, I get turned around and the customer behind me like gave me this little smile, and I didn't think about it, like, and I realized now that she was smiling because she saw me looking at the guy's phone and talking about the Rebbe. Like both of us, like, are spaced. We were like so into this picture of the Rebbe. We forgot we're in the butchery and there's other people waiting to check out.
Right.
But there was another person checking out people. Now, talking about checking out, I tell you, I don't know why I have to tell you these stories, but I'm going to tell it to you anyway. This is a crazy post office story. So, our good friend David and Chani Sildorf, who live in Diego, had their third child.
Mazel tov. Sorry, my brain was comprehending the S. Diego first, and so I had to get there. Sorry.
So, I don't know if our listeners will get it, but we don't say it's like Simcha Monica.
I'm impressed by your knowledge of the Spanish language.
Oh yeah, that's about it. It stops right there. So I went to mail them a little gift. So I walk to the post office. It's like I'm relaxed. When I walk to the post office, I know it's going to take time there. The post office near you. It's tiny.
Yeah.
And I know that post office workers are the slowest in any establishment you go to. You go to any store, you don't have the same experience in the post office. I don't know what it is, but they're so slow and methodical. You have to plan, like, to spend time there.
Yeah, you should see what it's like at home for me. It's similarly slow there.
Okay, I think it's across the board. Maybe it's a federal worker thing. I'm not sure.
Maybe it's a New York or New England thing.
I don't know. I did a survey of post offices around the world. But anyway, so I go in there, and there's like 2 people ahead of me and 2 people behind me, and there's 1 person working the counter, slow as molasses. Now I'm okay because I got my little earphone things, and got plugged in there. I got some Manus Friedman going, somebody else going. So I'm like chill. I'm ready for the long haul here. The person in front of me finally gets to the counter. The whole, she has to enter the information, the whole business. Then it comes to paying, and something happens. She put a debit card, it didn't work. Listen, I don't know what was going on, and she couldn't pay. And so she comes around from the other side of the counter, can't figure it out. I can't pull it. So the transaction is done, but she can't pay for it because you can't get up on the screen.
Mm.
And so she's trying this, she's trying. In the meantime, her phone calls. Oh, and then the person behind the counter, this little woman, she makes an announcement. I need to eat lunch. Now, I got my ear things in. I hear, sorry, what? Just, I'm going to take care of the customers that are here, but after that I have to eat lunch. No more. I can't take any more customers. I'm like, what? What is, like, we didn't come into your private little, mom and pop store. This is the
This is why
post
you need
office.
more than one person working.
Right. Then a few minutes later, the phone rang, tried to answer the phone. So now this is stretching into a 15, 20-minute wait already. Then the problem is the woman who's standing, who wants to send her packages, she's getting all upset. I got to get to work. She has to go to Seaport. It's an hour and a half drive. I got to go to work. I can't stand here. I got to pay. I have to mail these things. I know she's making some story why it has to be mailed today. And she didn't go to the post office at Seaport because such a long line. And she figured here would be the best place to do it. She lives nearby here, and she can't pay for it. And now, before I came to the post office, the mail came to the Chabad house, and I got a new debit card for Citizens Bank. And they said once you use it one time, then you get rid of the old one. So I'm walking to the post office. I said, I'll stop at the bank. I need to get some, because who carries money now anyway? I needed some money to be able to put money in the pushka before
It's perfect. There's the Citizens Bank ATM right there.
Exactly. So I went that's what I did. And I took out $20 because you can't take less than $20. Put it in my pocket. Now we're standing in line in the post office. And this lady can't pay for her, it's off the screen. So she can't tap her card anymore because it can't. The lady behind the counter, she can't figure out what's going on. She's going from one computer to the next computer. And so I step on and said, well, how's about this? I'll give you the cash. You can put the cash in the drawer and let this lady go. So the lady, the customer, she's like, I don't have any cash. I have $3. I said, don't worry about it. Don't worry. We'll figure that out later. So I'm standing there waiting and now I had the money in my pocket, and she already said before, I don't know. I said, okay, I'm just going to have, but I never have money in my pocket. I'm going to take the $20. I'll pay for the thing. I'll make up with the lady. She can pay me back, whatever. Can't figure it out. Nothing's happening.
Oh my goodness.
So finally, the woman says, okay. I said, so now the thing from the postage was printed up and put on 2 packages. So that's done. The only thing is she didn't pay, but she can't pay. And here we are now. There's me, this woman in front of me, 2 women behind me. The one behind me also has a baby who has by now fallen asleep.
Of course.
So we're like, and I'm thinking to myself, this is the most bizarre thing in the world. We're in this little post office, and customers come in once in a while. We say, no more customers because she has to go eat.
Right. Oh my goodness.
And I'm thinking to myself, how long am I going to wait here? Literally a half an hour.
Oh my God.
And finally I come up to it. So I say to the woman, you go to work. The package over here has posters on it. It'll get mailed. Don't worry about it. Right? The fact you didn't pay for it, well, she can't take your money. What's supposed to happen? So she leaves. I come up with my package, and the lady's like, oh no, I got to get the computer. And at that point, I said, I'm out of here. I left. And so I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe the point was to be like, I didn't even have to pay the money. I was offering to give the $20. I didn't have to. And I don't know, maybe somehow this had some effect on somebody, that here I am, a rabbi's coming in trying to help this woman out. And I had that $20 because I got the bank card that morning and I had to go, put it in. Anyway, today was a little Hashgacha Prata story that didn't have any obvious, fascinating, wow moment conclusion. And the conclusion is sometimes you just have to take life as it is, be calm, represent Yiddishkeit in a positive way, and you don't know what's going to happen. You don't always get the end of the story. This is my message. You don't always get the end of the story. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Now, I was listening to a talk of the Rebbe today. He was talking about people that have opinions about Torah but really don't know anything, and sometimes people say they don't believe. There's a saying, I think from the previous Rebbe, says, you can't knack semichkas and say you're not apokairis. It's like sunflower seeds. People, you bite on them, then you spit them out. So that's a Yiddish expression. So he said, knacking semichkas. Like a guy who's like an empty head. He said, if you want to be a real heretic, you have to learn and know. Like it says, He knows his master, and he has intention to rebel. Most of the people that you and I will meet in our lifetime that will say they don't believe in God, the best response to them is, tell me what you don't believe in. You know what I'm saying? If I said, I don't believe that the Detroit Red Wings are a good team,
you'd be correct.
But if you said to me why, I wouldn't know why, because I don't know anything about them, and I don't want to know anything about them. So when you say
there's a Jew,
put on tefillin with him.
It's not that kind of Jew.
What?
No. Well, yes, but no, not what I'm referring to.
Okay. Anyway, so this is the thing. When someone says I don't believe, you have to explain what you don't believe. And if you can't explain what it is, then it's like you don't believe. You don't know. Big difference. Most people don't know. It's not that they don't believe. They don't know. And then Rebbe went on to this thing about people that go to college or think they're educators, therefore they have opinions in Torah. And they go to college and they get letters after their name, so many letters they don't even know what they mean. And then in college, on campus, who's the one that's most respected? The guy who could kick a ball into a certain space. It's called football. And in Yiddish, in the old country, football is soccer. And then even more so, if he can kick with his left foot and his right foot, or his right foot and his left foot, that is really a big massive. And basically, there was sort of poking fun at people who think they have an opinion about Yiddishkeit, but really don't know much about it. And the same token, we got a little poking fun at people on campus, which is pretty relevant, especially now when we have this people that laugh at higher education. All these colleges that had all these crazy protests. It wasn't higher education; it was lower education. Anyway, so that's a couple of things that's going on. Now, it is graduation time coming up, and we need to remember this is a line that a lot of people say. It's called commencement, which means to begin. So, graduation is not a big celebration of what happened till now. It's really what's going to happen next.
Thank you for the cookie cutter speech. Thank you for the cliches, Rabbi. So original.
Yeah, this is some things are original and some things are truisms, and we always have to remember that. When we get this, getting caught up in the graduation as an end in its own is a big mistake. It's like, what's going to happen next? Now, and that brings us to the next subject, and that is that people are finishing college now, and comes the summertime. What are you supposed to do in the summertime?
Take a nap. Go outside. Go swimming.
Continue.
Go to yeshiva.
Exactly. I'm only telling what the Rebbe would say. The Rebbe would say, now that you're free from your obligations, your worldly obligations, you have now an opportunity to go and do something for your neshama. Everybody has to do that. Everybody should do that. Find the time and the space. And if some people that listen to this Post-cast may be married with children, so it may be difficult for them to just leave and go to yeshiva. I would say they should still do it.
Go to the kollel.
2-3 days. Go to 2-3 days and go to yeshiva somewhere. In fact, we should start a movement right now. Any man who's here who wants to go to yeshiva, we're going to arrange, let's say, a 3-day retreat or whatever. What are we going to call it? No, retreat sounds like going backwards. We're not retreating. A charge forward. 3-day charge forward in Torah. And we'll go to Morristown. How's that for an idea? Have you been to Morristown?
No, I have not been to Morristown.
Okay, if you're around, you can come with us. 3 days of rejuvenation. Reju, J.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, no, I
Another cliche.
Yeah, I picked up on it. That one I picked up on time.
Rejuvenation of the neshama, and because It's about your health. Summertime is time for your health, your physical health and your spiritual health. And that's why we say Pirkei Avot during this time. Pirkei Avot is a time, because we're going into the world, we have to focus on what's really important in life. And that's Torah study. So yeah, everybody should go to yeshiva, and anybody who's traveling should go to Israel. I know you're going to Israel. Everybody who's traveling should go to Israel. There's no other place in the world to visit. It's so important to go to Israel now more than ever, because they're having a difficult time. You go there, you show solidarity, you inspire them, you spend some money there. Money is least important, but you go there and you go, and it's a holy land. It's the most inspiring and holy place that there can be. Okay, and may we hope and trust and pray that in fact we will be in Israel all together with Mashiach now.
Amen. And with that, thank you so much for listening to episode 56 of the Post-cast with Rabbi Shmuel Posner. We will see you next week.